This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello and welcome to the iRacing eSports Network and the World GT Championship presented by Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me for this evening's racing is Marco Barbonet, and we're here for round 3 of the championship. 3 20-minute races in for you today. And Marco, we are here at the legendary Montreal circuit. It's a tricky one this, it's a unique one this. But most drivers absolutely adore this place, and we can see some of the best racing in all of iRacing around these turns.
Absolutely. Hello everyone. Hello Sam. And hello of course to Samuli behind the cameras. Yes, of course the Montreal racetrack. A tricky one of course from a racing standpoint, but of course at the same time a very exciting one. Narrow, lots of straights, lots of tight chicanes. Lots of possibilities for overtake, lots of possibilities for drama, as we have seen over the years, and of course the return to the sprint format for this round after the enduro battles means that the drivers will have to make the most out of the little time they will have on track for each of the races tonight.
Yeah, definitely. They've got to, it could be very good this round for some drivers, or it could be very bad. So far in the championship, it's been a very good start for Ross McFarlane. He leads the way, 4 points ahead of George McClay, his Pitstone Motorsport teammate. Then it's Mark Fletcher and Lewis Bibby. Christian Rose rounding out the top 5. Doesn't really tell the whole story. Josh Thompson was ever so strong, I believe, at Barcelona in round 1. Won at least one race there, and I think got a decent round 2, race 2 as well. And he was dominating at Bathurst before a collision with a back marker ruled him out. So certainly he's one to watch out for. Currently down in 8th in the championship. In the Pro-Am standings, Mike Horder is leading the way. Of course, former Apex Racing League Apex Racing League American GT champion in the GT3 class. And he's been backing it up. He had a superb Bathurst round. He's up into first position in that championship. Matt Bunn, Gray, Beard and Roberts rounding out the top 5. And in the amateur standings, Craig Jones leads the way by a handy margin as well in his Ferrari. 35 points ahead of Michael Blake. Then it's Parrett, Burke and Boland rounding out the top 5. Great to see 3 classes, Mike. I think that's a fantastic addition for this series. We've seen in the past in the Sim Racers World GT Championship how well 3 classes work. And I think certainly in the Sim Racers World GT Championship, which of course is also on the iRacing eSports Network on Wednesday evenings, that's really necessary because there's not a whole lot of a lot series. So if you're the 20th fastest driver, you're probably going to finish in 20th place. Here, maybe you can get away with 2 classes, but still 3 classes, it means that absolutely every driver will have something to fight for, and it really means that even in these early stages of the season, you've got to be thinking of the points game, otherwise you're not going to help your chances of potentially a title.
100% agree with you, and of course that's the beauty of having the 3 classes, and of course always the big question, do you fight with drivers from other classes or not? Of course you can recognize them on the left side of your screen, of course in the timing tower, thanks to the colors. Green for the Pro-Am is in yellow and the amateurs are in orange, but of course they have other clues on the top of your screen as well. And on the cars themselves, the sun strip on the cars, and of course in the number panel you will see them color coded to make it even easier for you to recognize where they are. We are also in basically the final moments of qualifying, Sam. Big topic, of course, after this week there will be a break for the championship. They will not be racing next Monday. They will be back on the 9th of March from Interlagos with new tires.
Yes, of course. Week 13 next week. No, it's
Yeah, next week.
yeah, but technically it will still be week 12, won't it? Next Monday.
Yeah, well, you know.
It's near enough. But I mean, I'm sure the drivers will be a bit hungover as well from the Sebring 12 hours. I think that's during week 13. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. The big news is the knee time ball. And I guess if you've got a knack for the car, as many of these teams seem to have really got a knack for the car, of course it is new for this season, so aren't fully mixed in with it, but some guys have an advantage. You want to make full advantage of that, because that advantage could be completely wiped away in round 4. The setups are going to have to be redone, potentially even a different driving style is going to be needed. They're all going to have to learn it again, so I mean, if you're feeling confident at this point in the season, you've got to really get as many points as you can on the table before potentially you lose that advantage.
Especially in the sprint races where, of course, you need to push hard straight from the beginning. Now with the V6 tires that the guys will be using tonight, that's not much of an issue, to be honest, but we know in all the other the vehicles on iRacing that have switched to the V7 tires, you need 2-3 laps to get them into not only a good range of temperature for performance reasons, but also for grip reasons. Now, granted, these guys will have the help of traction control and ABS, so it might mitigate some of those issues, but at the same time, still it's going to be super tricky. And of course, as you were saying, a series that just recently switched back to GT3s after being used to GTEs for quite a long time will quite surely make even more tricky for these drivers, as the weather on the right side of your screen, of course, is the 15th of May. 27 degrees Celsius is the track temperature, so very, very pleasurable day out there. Not too bad for these drivers, 11 kilometers per hour of wind. And something that I noticed, I don't know if Samuli noticed it over all these years, but I just recently realized, as I told to Sam the other day, the little clock there on the right side of the screen moves together with the digital clock next to it. So the little thingies on the clock, I don't know what their name is, will move realistically according to what time it is out there. A beautiful, nice touch. It took me way too much time to notice.
Definitely. That's what we do, Apex Racing TV. Doing everything right down to the minuscule, and make sure that we provide the best broadcast possible. Hopefully this is going to be a very fun broadcast for us. Currently qualifying, of course, in progress. 15-minute qualifying. These drivers get. They can do as many laps as they want, and of course the final lap, if you cross the line and then the timer ticks down, you can complete the lap that you started. It's not like official series. You can complete the lap that you start in the session. So a little bit of extra time for the drivers to potentially beat Ross McFarlane's pole time. He's on pole by 1/1000th of a second ahead of Oscar Mangan. Can Oscar, though, maybe put a little bit of pressure on his rival? He's coming towards the final chicane. He doesn't quite have a toe, but at the same time, he's got a clear run. This is where you can win and lose so much time, and well, he's going to come into the pits instead. No, that's going to be it, isn't it? So Mangan isn't going to get pole. He'll be hoping for a front row start at least. Josh Thompson currently in 3rd place, of Docker in 4th, Fletcher in 5th. Still plenty of drivers out on circuit, but main drivers also returning to the pits. So we've got about 30 drivers, I think, on track.
Would you say, Sam, this is one of those tracks where the McLaren can really shine? Because I think it's one of those places where it really could be the car to beat, just like Monza and Daytona, as we have seen in Sim Racers World the other day. Of course, long straights and the pure power and pace of the MP4-12C, I think, suits this track really, really well.
Yeah, and the McLaren actually, we've seen in the Sim Racers World GT Championship a few drivers going back to the McLaren, I think, more recently. So it is a decent car. And yeah, it could be strong around here. But I don't think necessarily a car's going to dominate. I think even the BMW, which may struggle down these long straights, might be good over the curves, and of course some big braking zones as well around this track. So that's potentially an opportunity for it to utilise that very positive elements of it. Pete Harrods coming through the final corner. P8 currently is the pro driver. Can he improve on his time? He needs a time better than 32.73, and he's pretty much matched the time. He was 1/1000th of a second slower than his best time. So that's, if it was a matter of consistency, then he'd be on pole position. Unfortunately, that's not what we're marking out here. Craig Jones, of course, leader of the amateur standings. He's now coming through the final corner. 40th position at the moment. So many cars involved in this very competitive championship. And Mangan does, Jones does improve up into 35th and then takes a rather questionable line through turn 1.
Do you remember, or you were? Yeah, I think you were a bit too young to remember the Alonso line from 2007.
What way just missed turn 1 half a dozen times.
Yes.
And then got overtaken by Takuma Sato later.
Oh yeah, of course you know that race because that was Lewis Hamilton's first victory in F1, so you might have gone back and revisit it. But yeah, that was, I think, looking back, it's easy to say this, but the race where Alonso lost the title because in the second half of the race he dropped like a stone. Even the Super Aguri got past him at a certain point, and he could never recover. It was a very disappointing race, but of course well remembered by every Lewis Hamilton fan as his first victory, and of course back-to-back victories because then he won in Indianapolis the next week. But here I like that we are seeing a good mixture of cars: Beamers, Ferraris, Audis, Mercedes, McLarens. No one, I think, is driving the Ford, which makes me a bit sad, but also makes me think that all the drivers are very smart in this championship. And also the clock ticking now almost 2 minutes over the 15 minutes limit. Therefore, in just a few seconds, it will switch over and we will be ready to give you the starting grid for tonight's first race here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, of course, the home. Oh, I've been told that Melchert is in the Ford by Christian Rose, so
yay!
Big props, big fan of the Blue Oval here. I will be a bit biased. Hopefully gives me reasons to cheer for. And here we go with the starting grid for race 1.
Yes, and it's Wilson McFarlane on pole by 1/1000th of a second. Josh Thompson a whole 900ths back. He wasn't close in third. That's how close it is. Top 4 actually mega close. Michael Abdotka in 4th position. Then a little bit of a gap back to Mark Fletcher. And it's Barry Baird in 6th. Chris Daines, Pete Harrod, Miguel Freitas, and Ben Palmer rounding out the top 10. Then it's Christian Rose, Lewis Bibby, Dan McCauley, Mike Gray. Apologies, McCauley was top of the Pro-Ams, by the way. Then it was Gray, George McClay, Billy Fletcher, Richard Warmingham, John Agui, Chaz Jaycock, qualifying for him in 19th. Mike Horder, leader of the Pro-Am standings, of course, in 20th. Then it's Simon Underhill. Andy Shield, Matt Bunn, Ethan Bass, Mark Woodhouse, Simon Field, Fraser Smith, James King, Michael Blake, top of the AM drivers. Then it's Adam Hedgecock, Ashley Beard, Steve Burke, Bart Perret, Kip Stevens, Craig Jones, Lars Van Rijn, Carl Yacolet, John Roberts, Casper Engels, Dennis Melchart, Dean Timms, Nathan Dixon, Simon Marshall, Neil Crowther, Dave Christie, Chris Coghlan, and then who is behind that? Not quite sure who is behind that. You might have to go through the final few positions for me. No, sorry, apologies, Marco. Kevin Boland, Ben Gregory, Nicole Foggy, and Kevin DeWell. Apologies. All of a sudden, my iRacing was like, nah, mate, you're not going to scroll down. I was worried that it all just kaput, but no. It's all right. By the way, just speaking to Adam Hedgecock yesterday when I was broadcasting the Apex Racing League GT Championship, apparently a lot of drivers had gone back to the Mercedes recently in this race. So a lot of penalties being given. 100-point penalty, I believe the drivers get, which if you take it early on in the season, it might just be worth it. So there are a few more Audis out here on the circuit, but you can see pole position, Ross McFarlane, 127, sticking with the beautiful McLaren out here today. Is he going to be able to take race 1? The Porsche safety car is about to come into the pits, and 20 minutes of racing here at Montreal is about to get underway. McFarlane from the pole, and away we go for this 20-minute opening race. And it's a very nice start for Ross McFarlane. Jock Thompson's already got ahead of Mangan, so great start there. Can he keep it on the inside? Mangan will try to come back to the second part of turn 1, but he's now got to be careful from the 111 car of Mark Fletcher. So he's also got a brilliant start. So all the drivers on the odd side of the grid have really got a nice launch, very good launch for the race leader as the Pitstone Motorsport drivers go side by side, blocking the circuit ever so slow coming out of that corner. And Chris James trying to take advantage. It's 2x2 into the middle sector of the lap, and it's the Nomad driver of Baybed trying to profit from this. In the end, cannot gain anything. Up 6 places was Jones, and a couple of drivers seemingly dropping down, but very good on the most part.
Yes, absolutely. Ben Palmer, you see now 9th place. As you can see on the right side of your screen, the long snake of cars as it's going through all of the first lap. We have more or less clean racing all around, which is great to see, especially considering the circumstances, and of course considering that there is only 20 minutes to make up your positions, as massive traffic jam here at the hairpin, and now on the backstretch pushing hard, trying to go for the first lap, which will end in just a second after another tricky moment, of course, the final chicane and the Wall of Champions.
Yep, will be tricky throughout, especially on this lap 1. Ross McFarlane gets through the first lap unscathed, but it's Josh Thompson in his BMW looking very strong right now. Fletcher just about, apologies, Abdoka getting ahead of Fletcher then. So Abdoka with that tricky start from 4th on the grid, gets back past Mark Fletcher. Then it's Baird, Palmer up 3 places, Harrod in 8th, Bibby in 9th, and Freitas rounding out the top 10. Chris Danes dropping down the order, or he has dropped down the order, yeah, recently, because he was fighting with the Pitstone Motorsports drivers for the top 5 positions earlier on. Simon Underhill.
Get a replay of that then. This is the corner where Montoya and Rosberg came together many years ago. Don't know if he got a little help from the back. Good job of avoiding him by the rest of the field. And he's back underway, albeit in 50th and therefore last place.
That was great avoidance from the pack to take evasive action. So well done to those guys. Maybe they're on their toes thinking like that could happen. Oh, as Shield gets a little bit of contact and almost got shoved into the wall. Almost into the rowing lake he had to go, but instead he managed to keep his car in a relatively good shape. Shield down there in 20th place. It's up 2 places from his start. Warmingham and Horder might be going side by side just ahead. Horder trying to gain a place. Got to be so careful with the slowdown through that through that chicane. And I think getting a slow down is
Warmingham, yeah.
And he just took too much of that first curb, and he's one of the first victims of this slowdown. And on lap 2, not as bad as lap 1, but lap 2 you can still lose a lot of places.
And we have seen this, of course, many times in the past on Apex Racing TV, that if you get a penalty there, a slowdown on the last lap, it's a very tricky proposition. You either have to really stop in the middle of the track to clear it, or you cross the start-finish line, but then you get tagged with the penalty and you lose several positions. So if there's a lap where you don't want to get the slowdown, it's the first 2 laps and the last here in Montreal, especially at that corner.
So leader of the massive contact as well with the 113. Is that Ben Gregory, maybe? Yeah, it was. And Foggy, he was making up some good progress. Didn't start the race. Not sure if that's like a penalty or something, but started right from the back. And as Griffey tried to move past, contact with the two Mercedes, and that would be big issues for the pair that most likely will not be involved in the reverse grid. Here is Shield trying to make up some places once again. He's down into 21st actually, so he's just been overtaken by Matt Bunn. Ethan Bass a little bit further ahead of them, and look at how close all of these drivers are. Can Shield get it done on the brakes around the outside? It's going to be tight on the exit, and he's now got a very poor launch. The 23 car of Steve Berg with a much better launch. Jaycott just behind as well. He's lost some places in the last couple of laps. Has Jaycott after a very good qualifying for the Pro-Am driver. Shield moving ahead of his rival, and is now going to be the leader of this train. And Jaycott seemingly getting pushed up off the way a little bit there. He's down into 25th. Oh, and off, almost in the wall, was the boosted driver.
Yeah, Sam. 5 minutes have passed, quarter of an hour left here in Montreal, as Thompson, I think, has taken the lead over McFarlane, as Marshall is towing back to the pits, and you can see the number 49 in the lead right now, being followed closely by McFarlane. Disregard what says on the left side of the screen, they are first and second effectively.
Jaycott with another issue. Continues to drop places. Maybe it was a slow... Yeah, it's probably just slow down. Uh-oh, that's another issue. Small hits, gentle nudge. Pushing him around the corner, helps his acceleration. But you're absolutely right, of course, Thompson taking the lead then past McFarlane. Apologies for missing. Now, that's the problem with this series. It's too much action, too much good racing, and occasionally we miss it. But Thompson, yep, leading the way from third place on the grid, remember. Got an awesome start, and he's really looked like he's the fastest driver out there so far. Already has won a race this season. Should have won Bathurst, and will be claiming back some points. And this is how he managed to take the lead a couple of laps ago.
Into the final chicane, maybe a mistake from the 10 race leader, yes, and maybe he also clipped the wall. I'm not sure, but you know, whatever the case, he didn't get the best of exits, and now Thompson has free reins. It can have all the free space in the world to push hard and try to pull away from his competitors. As you can see, Evdoka, Mangan, and Fletcher are getting very, very close to each other.
Evdoka getting past Mangan recently, because he was in 4th place, and Evdoka is going to be maybe catching up to Ross McFarlane as well. Really good pace for the 989 driver right now. Of course, the McLaren we know is ever so quick down the straight, so it's not the easiest car necessarily to overtake on. But we believe that the Mercedes is still the fastest car of these GT3s. It's been the fastest car in the GT3s for many years now, around the most of the circuits. The Audi, to be fair, has had a couple of stints where it's been faster. The BMW's always been quite competitive. But the Mercedes, the most reliable car, you always know it's going to be pretty good. Barry Baird with a Q behind him. Pete Harrod, Lewis Bibby, and Miguel Freitas trying to get past.
Yes, certainly the McLaren, sorry, the Mercedes is usually, as we say, to Will Tregorta in race chat. Hello, Will. You know, it's certainly the McLaren. Sorry, the Mercedes has always been the best all-around car in GT3. Like, there is no two ways about it. Very, very stable. You can really use it as a jack of all trades. And a master of some in this case. But, you know, great props to every driver who, you know, goes with their favorite car, which could be the Mercedes, just as in my case. Look at that, because Bird looking behind to Pete Harrod. They are side by side entering into the hairpin here, and the McLaren able to make the move for eSports Racing USA. You can see his teammate just in front of it, another McLaren. And now they file back into single file. Speaking of which, 36 seconds ago, we had the official iRacing teaser video for the Porsche Cayman GT4, as I was browsing to YouTube very professionally, I have to say, whilst I was reloading the page. So it has been confirmed. I mean, it was confirmed already, but now it's confirmed that we are going to have it. Back to the front then. Doka, Mangan and Fletcher. Take a look at that video, of course, in the break between race 1 and race 2.
Yep, great additions that iRacing are adding to iRacing coming up. That sentence was not superb. Oh, Mangan, that corner entry wasn't superb. But yeah, it's really good that GT4 cars are going to be coming to iRacing very soon. Maybe this series will use GT4s. Very unclear, but certainly will be a possibility. Of course, we'll be in the official series as well, alongside the TCI and the IMSA series, which will be a fantastic addition. Mark Fletcher, half a second behind Oscar Mangan, who's looking to the outside of Docker, having to go defensive into each corner, and Fletcher felt as though he could be a superhero there, save his teammates, and maybe try to move past Mangan. He wasn't quite close enough though, but that's the worry for Mangan. If he tries to get past into third position, he could leave himself very vulnerable to the driver in fifth behind.
And of course, the best seat in the house, as we usually say. And there are two very hard battling drivers as they go all sorts of sideways coming out of the final chicane and into the second half of this race, which has actually started 1 minute ago. So we are 11 minutes on the clock, 20 scheduled. Thompson leading the way in the overall. Gray is leader of the Pro-Am, and leader of the amateurs is Burke in 23rd position here in Montreal. There is Mike Gray in front. He's got a little bit of a buffer between himself and Macaulay, that being Christian Rosa. He's sitting in the middle of the two class leaders, sorry, the first and second in class. Nice to see. I still haven't seen a shot of that supposed Ford I've been told that there is a Ford on the field. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Samuli. I mean, look at that and listen to that. I mean, come on. That is absolutely 100% the best sounding car, and also the best looking, yes, because I'm not biased, of the entire grid.
It's a purr, isn't it? It's a purr of a lion. Is that Ford?
Oh, is there a problem for Baird?
Oh dear. And that was from... Oh, and now a BritTech car hard into the wall.
It's Danes.
Chris Danes. So two drivers from the top. Well, Danes was in 14th place. Baird was up in 8th. He just lost out to Pete Harrod, of course. But Danes as well losing out massively. And he's going to have to come back to the pits. Of course, they do get a fast repair in this series. Apologies, they don't get a fast repair in this series. So that will be the end of his race, and he won't be eligible for the reverse grid.
A little bit maybe over-optimistic from Freitas, and then I guess all on it. Oh, no, there was also extra contact there. That's Danes into the wall, I'm afraid, just by looking on the corner of my screen. But there were several cars who were super close as Chris Danes now for BritTech, making his way into pit road, and as you can see, losing several positions at once. As we can see now, our great colleague and friend Charles Dracot as he's wheeling his number 10 Audi. And that was another Audi, James King, making very close acquaintance to the barriers.
King, who successfully executed a NASA mission at Bathurst 1 week ago, where no man has been before, and basically had a massive shunt and went many meters up in the sky. Melcher, has he just got past? I've just got past him. We've never seen this before. A Ford passing another car. Oh no! Well, there you go. There you go.
Shame on you. That was terrible, Sam.
He'll make it up. I swear, if he now gets hopefully he'll get reverse grid pole after that. Apologies, Stems, apologies. So he's now got to, I think he did just pass the car Yakulat, so he's got to get past Yakulat Again, James King just in front of them, who must have big damage after that. He's certainly going to be slowed down the straights after all of that stopaway pass. Then the Ford, though. Apologies, I'm bashing the Ford, but it is really quite a slow car. John Roberts losing out just behind these guys to Kevin Dewell, who's up 15 places. Dewell. Evdoka and Mangan are really close right now. They just as they were before. It was 1/10 of a second, half a tenth of a second even. Evdoka's doing everything he can. Hang on to this lead. Oh, has Mangan got a slowdown? He does. Oh, well, these slowdowns are so prominent here. It's really up there with Le Mans in terms of the amount of slowdowns you get. Probably even worse because at Le Mans they're driving errors and then you probably get them. Here, you've got to just cut the curb enough to get a good line, but not too much that you get a slowdown. And that is what Mangan has done, and that will be very good news for the TechSense Pitstop Motorsport drivers because now Fletcher is a little bit of a rear gunner to Michael Evdoka.
Going back to the Ford for just a second, you wait and see the new tire model and the Ford becomes the best car of the GT3s, and you will see basically a one-make Ford series in this GT3 championship. Who knows? Who knows? Luis Bibi then for Renvale Pitstop Motorsports, number 313 sitting in 8th place, quite a queue behind him, including...
slow down for Freitas.
Yeah, just there in the back, as you can see Freitas with his, as per usual, multicolored Team Mad car. Yeah, quite a queue behind Bibi, including the first two guys in the Pro-Am class, the yellow numbered drivers. As you can see, in front of Bird and behind Macaulay, who's a bit sideways there. CQR Sim Sports driver, number 41, of course, a driver we all know very well. All these drivers we know basically very, very well from all the years. It's nice to see such a big grid for this championship, despite maybe GT3 having a little bit of dip in popularity compared to the GT as Bird completes the move. You know, World GT, Sim Racers World Show in the GT3 is alive and well, even though the cars, some of them might be a bit, you know, out of date, but absolutely beautiful to see 50 starters for this event as we are heading into the final 3 minutes of the race, and the race leader is taking the start-finish line right now. And considering that the lap times are more or less in the ballpark of 1:32s, we should have a couple of laps left, maybe. I don't know.
Gray has got an issue.
Why did I go there?
What's happened to Gray? Just lost loads of time. He must have had the slowest chicane I think anyone's ever done, and yet he didn't lose a place to Christian Road because he was side by side with Bibi, and then I think he just stopped in the middle of the chicane. I don't know if we could get like a replay of that. But that was strange to look on the live timing. Of course, do check out the live timing in the description, provided by SPK Gaming, and you can keep up with the times of the drivers, the latest lap time, the best lap time, the gaps between each of the drivers. Pretty much all you need. Their numbers, in case you want to know that information. But yeah, it is very useful as that, so certainly do click on the description and the link. By the way, to the YouTube chat, I am directly addressing you because I am so disappointed when someone earlier on said, where is Palmer? And I said, he's retired. No one said Karma. I mean, how can you... That was just pitching a baseball to you when you got a bat and you could have knocked it out of the park, but no one said Karma. So I'm disappointed with everyone for that one. Hopefully there'll be another opportunity later on in the season. Is all I can say. Spreading out amongst the top 12 now. A few less battles.
And the white flag should be in the air right now as Thompson is well past the first few corners and heading into the second half of the lap. As we have 1 minute left, the car goes around there at the final chicane. A good save there from, I think it was Fletcher, probably. Flashing his headlights, not very happy, probably with one of the competitors as we go back to this move. And the shield deep on the brakes. I think makes the move on that Mercedes of Ethan Bass and up into P19.
He's been involved in a lot of battles, has Andy Shield, but yeah, back up into 19th, up 3 places from his start. Doesn't look like there's going to be any change in the top 8. Bibby kind of being, kind of released. Oh, as Freitas is off the circuit, I'm seeing. I think he's got quite big issues here as Miguel Freitas. He's dropped down to 20th, and it is a spin for him. Doesn't have much damage on that car, but that's a massive shame for Freitas, who got himself up into 14th place, started in 9th, of course, had a slowdown, of course, which cost him quite poorly, and now he's dropped even further down. Might help him out with the reverse grid, but it might be very costly with the reverse grid, we'll see. Josh Thompson is approaching the line, and he has won this first race of the evening. Apologies that we missed that one, but it was quite comfortable. 1.6 seconds clear of Ross McFarlane. It's Thompson's second race victory of the season, and he closes the gap in the championship. Michael Abdotka in 3rd place, Fletcher and Mangan in 4th and 5th. And also winning the Pro-Am standings was Mike Gray, of course, finishing in 9th place. Great drive from Gray after starting in 2nd place in that class. Top of the amateur drivers is going to be Steve Burke, and what a drive from Steve Burke as well, although Burke is dropping down right at the end. What has happened to Burke, I think, on the very last lap of the race, and I don't think he's won the amateur race in the end as Burke, so really a bit disappointing there, and instead it is going to be Michael Blake from pole position as well in that class. He wasn't leading throughout, but Blake does get it. So Burke has had a connection issue on the last lap. Was going to be a fantastic result, could have got somewhere high up as well in the reverse grid. Well, that's a shame for him.
I'm reading that his PC just turned off, which is unfortunate, and certainly the equivalent of what we can have in real life, like blown engine, etc. Never want to have that, especially on race night, and especially when you are leading the race in the final few corners. So bad luck. Hopefully he can get some sort of stability for race 2. And I think also that we have everyone home safe and sound. Therefore, here we go, Sam, with the results.
Yes, and it's Josh Thompson who wins out 1.7 seconds ahead of Ross McFarlane. They were well clear, 6 and a bit seconds ahead of Michael Abdotka. Mark Fletcher, his teammate, finishing in 4th. There's Oscar Mangan, Ben Palmer, Pete Harrod, Lewis Bibby, and Mike Gray. Top of the Pro-Am drivers, of course. Christian Ray's running out the top 10. There's George McClay, Dan McCauley, Barry Baird, Mike Horder, Matt Bunn, Billy Fletcher, Andy Shield, John Agui, Ethan Bass, and Mark Woodhouse rounding out the top 20. There was Miguel Freitas, Richard Warmingham, Chaz Draycott, Adam Hedgecock, Simon Field, Michael Blake, Lars Van Rijn, Bart Perret, Craig Jones, Kip Stevens, Carl Yacolet, Kevin DeWale, Dennis Melchert, John Roberts, Nathan Dixon, Fraser Smith, Bert Engels, Chris Colan, Ben Gregory, Dean Timms, Ashley Beard, James King, Niall Crowther was the last driver on the lead lap. Steve Burke finishes 1 lap down. Now, I'm not sure if that means that he'll be eligible for the reverse grid, but we'll see. Chris Daines, Simon Underhill, Dave Christie, Simon Marshall, and Nicole Foggy were the drivers who did not finish round 1 of the day. So, Sam, we've got another reverse grid wheel, the first one today. What's it going to be?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. The wheel is on your screen right now. Let's just go ahead and spin it. Let's see, it might be a big one, it might be a small one. It is 18.
18. Thankfully, we don't have to do any minus numbers because that would have been tricky. John Agui is going to be on pole position. By the way, I'm not sure how to pronounce John's surname, so if anyone can tell me, I would appreciate it. Pro-Am driver as well, so great opportunity for him. Andy Shield will start alongside him on the front row of the grid. So, well, best of luck for those guys. That will be the front row of the grid. Thompson will be starting down in 18th place. So we'll be back then for race 2 of the evening in the World GT Championship in about 20 minutes time. Do not miss it.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Welcome back to the iRacing eSports Network and the World GT Championship. We are prepping for race 2 of the evening after race 1 that was not dominated, but from third on the grid, Josh Thompson managed to take the race win comfortably, we will say. And after an 18-car reverse grid, the action should be mixed up because it's John Agui on pole position, Andy Shield in second place, Billy Fletcher in third, Matt Bunn in fourth. Then it's Mike Horder, Barry Baird, Dan McCauley, George McClay, Christian Rose, and Mike Gray, rounding out the top 10. The rest of the drivers will go through for you now. Josh Thompson lining up in 18th place, of course. Winner of race 1, starting in 18th place for this race 2. Top of the AM drivers is going to be Michael Blake, who of course won the amateur standings in race 1. Wasn't within the reverse grid, so he will be at the front once again, which is very good news for him. So the driver's just lining up at the moment, and the pace car, the Porsche pace car, is about to pull away. Of course, as we were saying earlier on, new trailer for the GT4 cars on the official iRacing YouTube channel. We recommend you checking that out at some point, maybe not right away, but maybe between races 2 and 3, because we got another race straight after this one, another 20-minute race. Like we said at the top of the show, opportunities to win points, lots of opportunities to lose points. We didn't see many crashes in race 1. Are we going to see something contrary in race 2? John Agui coming up to the final chicane. He's got control of the field as we approach the line. Race 2 here at Montreal is underway, and Agui with a very comfortable start under no pressure from Shield. Bunn gaining a place. I think John Roberts, who was supposed to start a little bit further up, has gone back to the pit straight away as Bunn muscles his way through up into second place from fourth on the grid. Baird up a couple of places. McClay up a couple of places. Good start for Miguel Freitas as well, from 21st on the grid up into 18th already as they try to file themselves through that first chicane. Big slide for the former race leader or one of the Mercedes, almost spinning it around. I think it was Mike Horder potentially, but just about managed to keep it in line. Now it's Harrod trying to lose a position potentially to Lewis Bibby, and they're trying to get into single file now as the first lap, or the first half lap, is completed.
Yeah, absolutely, as drivers are starting to file in into sort of a order. It's of course now that the madness begins with the reverse grid, Sam. So hopefully everyone is on their best behavior, but sometimes even that, it's not really... yeah, you can do that, but you are always at the mercy of what is effectively a very big traffic jam from first to last place. As the drivers... Oh, look at that! Speaking of traffic jams, we have a massive one at the hairpin with several cars pointing in the wrong direction. So a Ferrari, for example, a poor Nicole Folky for the second straight race.
Matt Bunn's got a slowdown, I think, at the final chicane, and he's lost the lead. I think was he up into the lead? He was certainly, I think, in the top 2, second place perhaps, and yet he's made a mistake at the chicane, cutting across. Maybe was going for the lead, and Matt Bunn, painful situation right now for the car number 11 as he drops down the order after a superb start. He's dropped back down into 9th position. All his work and then some has been undone. Now he's under pressure from Pete Harris, who was the driver who nearly lost it right at the start of the event. Bunn just about manages to get ahead, and now under pressure is Pete Harrod from the Palmer in the SimSports Racing USA car. Oh, massive crash! And that could be a block potentially in the circuit. Can the drivers deal with it? Just about, although a couple more drivers are now getting involved.
Impossible to go through there. The track is completely blocked. Different reaction times from the drivers, and they are still wrecking. Simon Field with a massive hit is upside down in the middle of the race. Like McFarland, Thompson, Field have towed back to the pits. Miguel Freitas will look to continue. That car seems to be, I guess, okay.
How is it? Okay. I mean, surely that got half the blows, but no, you're absolutely right. McFarlane was involved in that one then.
Yeah,
so I would
McFarlane
say
and Thompson,
strong. Yeah, Thompson apparently involved in that. Oh, well, no luck for Josh Thompson. That's his third retirement. Well, I say third retirement, second retirement, I think, of the season, but he also had a very poor Bathurst race as well, where he managed to recover after a near retirement. So, John Adjuce, and thanks to Keith Camillet for explaining that one. John Adjuce leading the way, ahead of Andy Shield and Barry Baird. Fast up the race that last time round from Mike Gray. No one really gaining vast amounts of places in the top 15 places. We've got a maximum of gaining 3 places for Mike Gray. Of course, he said just set a purple lap time. But there's no one on an absolute charge, as we sometimes see. Really, any one of these drivers could win, because all of these drivers are so evenly matched. It's going to be about their racecraft. Can overtake round this place. But George McClay, I think, is dropping down. I think he may have just picked up a slowdown. Oh, no. Those slowdowns so important.
And
now
arriving,
other drivers are coming.
almost collecting his teammate.
Oh, that was a great move, though, from Lewis Bibby to slalom his way through and manage to get past Matt Bunn simultaneously.
So, of course, John Adjuce from the beautiful country of Malta. So nice to have drivers from some new places. And we thank, of course, Le Champion, Keith Camilleri, for helping us as we are on board with Mark Fletcher, getting past, jumped by Michael Evdoka, the chicane, Evdoka's car with a bit of damage on the rear. It's a 35.8 for Adjuce, 36.2 for Shield, as this group of drivers is coming into the first corner. This is very close, too close for comfort, maybe, as Mangan gets 34.4. Fastest lap of the race so far, and a good chance of points for the driver in 16th place. But so far, we have had that big mess in this part of the racetrack earlier, but apart from that, you know, it was a big wreck, don't get me wrong, but it could have been a lot worse. And maybe, hopefully, now the drivers will slot into a more controlled race. And of course, it's easy to say that. It only takes one car to spin, and you see how narrow the racetrack is, how narrow how close the barriers are to the racetrack. It's super easy to get a roadblock like we had there, and I said, given the circumstances, these drivers have behaved themselves very nicely, as we have Macaulay and Order dropping down after, I think, a poor line through the hairpin there, and the top 2, let's say top 3, slightly pulling away from the rest of the pack.
Here comes Shield. Straight past, pretty much no defense put up by Adjuce, and Shield with a massive gap straight away. Surprised John didn't put up more of a defense, just putting his car in the middle of the circuit instead. He was well on the racing line, and it's Andy Shield, definitely the favourite, the 007 car. And now it's going to be Barry Baird who's going to try to get past John Adjuce. Dan McCauley now leader of the Pro-Am after that difficult lap for Horder. Oh, and Bunn as well. Bunn, I think, was ahead.
I'm afraid they made contact, because their numbers, well, not their stripe next to the number flashed red at the same time. So I'm afraid there was contact between the pair of them. Let's get you a replay. Evdoka, I think, is the red car there.
No, the blue car behind.
The blue car behind, sorry. So, okay. Okay, yeah, they made contact, but because the McLaren got onto the back of Evdoka.
How?
So, could be yes, and it is. You really need to get your livery sorted, Sam, by the way, because...
I've got my liveries on, what?
No, your team's liveries sorted.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Right. All blue or all red? Even though I like them both.
well, we got, it thinks it's Renvale and Texense. So 2 different teams, technically. It's like a...
Red Bull and Toro Rosso in the 2007, 2008, they had the same car.
Yes,
Pretending
exactly.
it wasn't.
Oh, that's all across.
Both of them
Macaulay.
went.
At least he committed to it, unlike the BMW behind him, who lost time whilst also getting a slow down as well. Macaulay might not lose any places because everyone else was so slow behind. Mike Porter just sitting behind Bibby and Rose. Bibby making good progress on that last lap. Now up into 5th position. It's getting past Christian Rose, who's one of the front runners, of course, for the championship. Bibby as well. Rose, a former, he's never won this series, but I think he's finished in the top 5 on a handful of occasions. And he's looking very strong this season as well, as Mike Gray now gets past Mike Horder. So Horder, unusually, the championship leader in the Pro-Am standings, and former race leader as well in the Pro-Am.
Oh, yeah.
Really struggling, and now he's going to be under pressure from the SimSports USA car down the inside. That's the CQR Club car, apologies, of Ben Palmer. And now Fletcher, I think, will be soon passing.
And you know, when you lose your rhythm, especially when you have like such a massive train of cars behind you, it's so difficult to get it back, and you start getting into this negative groove, basically, of position loss after position loss, corner after corner. That is sadly what's happening to Order. The wish for him is that he gets it back and you know, stops dropping back, because of course he's now off the class podium and several places away from Gray as Macaulay gets passed by Rose. And we also have a fight for a second overall with Barry Bird for Nomad getting the job done. And now there are, oh well, I was about to say there was no one in between the top 2 of the Pro-Am. No, because Bibi jumps in the middle of Aegis and Gray. But this pack here, anything could happen. And the more they fight, the more they make the top 3 very happy.
Bibby is set free then to chase after the top drivers. He is 5 seconds behind Andy Shearer. You doubt a race win is possible, but I think a podium is very possible for the 313 car. I wouldn't particularly like to be Mike Gray in this situation, because he's got so many cars behind him, so many cars, and they are very fast cars. A CQR driver trying to get past, that's Ben Palmer, nice move, he likes that corner, does Palmer, and that's past George McClay as well. Good effort, Palmer's looking very quick today, and now I think potentially the teammates doing some work with Fletcher and Evdoka, both getting past McClay. But if you let one car pass, then it's very tricky not to let the entire field pass, and McClay drops to 11th place, staying ahead of Mangan. Wonder where Mangan could have been. He got a slowdown on the first lap of the race. Been very quick ever since. He was very quick in qualifying, very quick in race 1. Really, a podium could have been his today if it weren't for that mistake. He started ahead of Bibby, of course, and Mangan just about squeezing his way past. Nothing that the driver on the outside can do in that situation. And an awful lap that for George McClay, down into 12th place, and it's still going on behind him. Horder and Howard going side by side. Howard getting past Mike Horder. Horder at least now has got 2 seconds back to Mark Woodhouse, which you'll be very thankful of, because he's just spent the last 2 laps with the entire world sitting behind him trying to get past, it seems. Ben Palmer has got past Dan Macaulay. There he is. Palmer, so quick right now. I mean, I realise he's quick anyway. Of course, a real-life driver as well. Ben Palmer in the Mini Championship. Apologies, a support stage to the British touring cars. But he's ever so quick in that McLaren today. And Fletcher next past Macaulay. Good news for Fletcher, because he's got Evdoka, his teammate, behind him, so he can afford to go for a few more interesting moves, not fearing that he's going to be overtaken. Or at least you'd expect that's going to be the case. Fletcher lining this up nicely. Yeah, maybe.
By the way, there is a Ford in the top 20, so I'm very happy. Hopefully it stays that way. Good job from Dennis Melchett. Maybe a reverse pole in the future for him. Who knows? As here we go. The overtake is made.
And Macaulay cut the corner.
Yeah, and he will be freight trained, I'm afraid, here on the front straight by all these other cars. and will be sent out of the top 10, unfortunately. He's down into P13, and sadly now for him, he's just in front of 4th in this class and 5th and 6th, so he could really risk losing his class podium, especially if Mike Herder can get his stuff sorted and get back into a proper racing groove. Here are the cameras on the 13th and 14th cars overall, as I said, 3rd and 4th in the Pro-Am. Of course, it's great. Sam, several of these drivers have raced yesterday in the endurance race on Sim Racers World, then they had the Apex GT, and today they are back at it. So, I mean, I didn't want to touch iRacing for basically until now, after the broadcast yesterday that we had, and I didn't drive. I just had, broadcast as Baird has sadly disappeared.
Uh-oh. And that was from
3rd place.
2nd place, I think, was by Ben. I think he was ahead of
He was, I had, yes, 2nd place, yes.
Yeah. Don't doubt me, Marco, all right?
I will never doubt you.
Thank you. Lewis Bibby then, 2nd place, very possible. Juice, is he letting him pass? So far, he's been really passive, has Juice, and he's been passive again. And he might give up another position here. Is Juice? Now he's fighting it because he wants the podium, but that's not helped him whatsoever. And he lets one car pass, and this has been a theme today. Let one car pass, and all of a sudden you're getting straight chained by quite a few. At least he only drops to 5th, but I think Ben Palmer, with the way Palmer's been climbing the order, I think will be very soon past the car number 2. Kind of good tactics this, Marco, from a Juice. I mean, that was all right letting past Bibby, but he let him pass too much, and then all of a sudden he got overtaken by a few more cars. You got to be passive, but at the same time you can't drop that much time that he did.
And crucially, he left by the first car, Bibby, and Gray, his class rival, jumped at that chance and was able to make the pass. So Juice now dropping even behind Fletcher. So yeah, you just slightly open the door, and someone comes in, kicks it wide open, and there is absolutely almost no way to stop everyone coming in. Unfortunately for Juice, this promotes him down. If that makes sense. Puts him down. Relegates him. That's the word. Out of 1st, but still on the podium of his class. But I'm afraid for him that Evdoka and Mangan are coming. There is a very wounded car there in 40th position that's letting everyone past. A lapped car there on the right side.
Might be Niall Crowther.
Oh, Mangan and Evdoka going at it in the first. Do you consider this the first chicane? Because I've always called it the first chicane, but maybe some people call this upcoming one the first chicane.
I would say this is the first chicane. That one is that one's a 90-degree corner followed by a hairpin. It's not really a chicane. Evdoka, Mangan. Sorry, he's just very close basically. Hence my lack of English words. I think Evdoka's usually very aggressive, of course, in his race car, very aggressive in defense. We saw that in race 1. Mangan frustrated after that slowdown at this point of the circuit on the opening lap, dropped from 8th place all the way outside the top 20, I think, at the time. Also, massive slide just behind them for George McClay. Nice, did well to hang on to that one. By the way, very few battles going on further down the order after that pile-up we saw earlier on. The field's kind of spread out quite a bit, a couple of battles, but mainly focus on the top positions because that's where most of the fighting is currently being done. Well, here's Chaz Jaycott and Steve Burke, though. Jaycott trying to get 27th place. This could turn into a reverse grid pole. I'm not totally familiar with what the options are for the reverse grid. I think we have a few minuses. Currently, 37 drivers, maybe even 38 drivers eligible for the reverse grid. So a minus 12 maybe, and Chaz Jaycott could be in for a very fancied starting place for race 3.
We haven't talked much about the year 1 cars, but here they are. Beard and Chocolate, different classes. They add for the final chicane. Our race leader is coming to the hairpin, so I guess we'll have this lap and one more for the race leader.
Yep, would have to
look
go.
at this.
Ooh, Doc still defending, and now just behind them, McClay under pressure from a juice.
No, he passed him. I think he
Yeah, I
went
was
past.
thinking, yeah, he must have got past. Oh, that's where he was just behind. Oh no, I think that may have been a mistake actually from the driver behind of McClay.
He comes
So
out of that.
Docker did very well to defend into the hairpin, and now Juice loses a place to Harrod. So Juice down 10 places, but still, I assume this will be his best result ever in the series, which is kind of a win in itself. Does Mangan have a better opportunity here? I think Evdoka will not let him go round the outside. Nah, Mangan tries to get the cutback, but Evdoka was decently early on the brakes, and it was a good exit for him. One more lap to survive for that 7th place. It's quite close behind Bibby, who's failed to pull away. I think he had a sketchy lap a couple of laps ago. 1.9 seconds off the lead. Another couple of laps and he would have probably caught up to Andy Shield, but instead he's going to have to settle for 2nd place. Gray now dropping back into Rose and Palmer. Palmer catching up to these guys by about 4/10 on that last lap. Any opportunity for this to change? It looks as though Gray is going to win out of the Pro-Am drivers. I don't think that's beyond doubt. The next Pro-Am driver is John Juice down in 11th place. So he should be fine, will Gray, but of course you want to score as many points as you can, obviously, and you would love an overall podium. Top 2 getting away from these guys. Is there any opportunity for Palmer, who's been so good on the brakes thus far in this race? He's got to go for it, surely. No, he didn't, and you would have thought he would have been able to get past. Nothing he can do here. The McLaren is fast down the straight, but the Audi in front of him will have the slipstream of the 3rd place driver. And Palmer is going to have to do very well here. But look at the straight line speed of that McLaren. It is absolutely terrific. And he might be able to pull out as his teammate, Andy Shield, rounds the final chicane. And from 2nd place on the grid, he took the lead early, built a gap, and it was enough to take the 2nd race victory. And Mangan is into the wall. A couple of other drivers are into the wall as well. Mangan doesn't want to tow back to the pit, and he's done well to get back onto the circuit now. Gray rounds out the podium and is top of the Pro-Am drivers. Fletcher still finished in 6th place, and Evdoka still finished in 7th, so that didn't affect it too much. It was just Mangan who had a wretched time, slowed down on lap 1, a poor start and a poor end. Finishes in 14th place. He'll be hoping for a small reverse grid. Mel Church in the damaged Ford. Still will be a nice result for him in 23rd position. Could that be a reverse grid for? It really could be. There are many options on the mystical wheel. Top of the AM drivers, by the way, was Craig Jones in 21st place. By the way, up 29 places was Nico Foggy. We didn't really talk about Foggy too much, but he did a very good job to gain that main positions.
Just waiting for everyone to come home because I'm just on the fence because of the way that Mangan came home after his spin. He went back onto basically the runoff area of the chicane, but I think he should be in the clear and still maintain his 14th place. And as everyone is home safe and sound, I think that is exactly what will happen.
Yes, and it's Andy Shield who wins out. 1.8 seconds ahead of Lewis Bibby. Mike Gray, top of the Pro-Am drivers, 3rd place overall. Then it was Christian Rose, Ben Palmer, Mark Fletcher, Michael Evdoka, George McClay, John Juice. Got back up into 9th place then at the end of the Juice. Nice work. He got past Harrod then on the last lap. So Harrod must have been involved in that last lap collision with Mangan. I can only imagine, but still rounds up the top 10, does Howard. Then it was Horder, Mark Woodhouse, Richard Warmingham, Oscar Mangan, Ethan Bass. Didn't talk about Bass too much, but very well done to him in 15th. Then it's Dan McCauley, Matt Bunn, Chris Danes, Adam Hedgecock, and Nicole Foggy up 29 places to 20th. Also, Danes was up 28 places to 18th. So really good drive through the field for both of those guys. Then it's Craig Jones, top of the amateur drivers. Ben Gregory, who gained 18 places as well. Dennis Melchat, Casper Engels, Lars Van Rijn, Steve Burke, Ashley Beard, Carl Yak.
Maybe we lost Sam, so we were talking about Carlo Coletti, yes, in P28. Miguel Freitas in P29 after being involved in that mess.
Yes, big shunt that was. Kip Stevens, Simon Underhill, Josh Thompson, Ross McFarlane, Simon Field, Michael Blake, and Dean Timms. So the final reverse grid of the day then.
Yes, that's right. The wheel is on your screen right now, so let's spin it for one more time. Previously it was pretty small, so let's see if we can get a big one this time. It is almost the biggest stand that we have, so it is 29.
29, that means that Miguel Freitas will be on pole position. Carl Yakolet starting alongside him on the front row of the grid. So that's really great for the couple of AM drivers who finished within those places, so particularly Yakolet and Burke, Engels and Jones as well. Massive advantage for them. Who's going to win out then for that race 3 of the evening? We'll be back in about 10 minutes time for the final race of the evening in the World GT Championship.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press, sideways, what a save.
Look to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
slide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
I'm here to... Welcome back to the iRacing eSports Network and the World GT Championship. We are prepping for the last race of the evening, race 3, after a very action-packed couple of races here at the Montreal circuit. Of course, round 3 of the championship. Marco, what can we expect from this final race?
A lot of fun, as per usual, and of course the grid is incredibly mixed up after a couple of reverses. As you can see it on your screen, we have Miguel Freitas starting from pole, but then behind him it's a mixture of amateur and pro-amateur drivers. So yeah, I mean, and it's been a great night of racing, and I have to say, apart from that pile-up in race 2, fingers crossed we don't have any more drama. It's going to be the proper way to round up the evening, and of course, ideally this first mini part of the championship before the new tire model comes on and the Ford becomes the dominant car once again.
Absolutely, completely out of choice and not because of technical issues. I'm going to let you go to the grid and potentially the race start, Marco.
Absolutely. So Jacolet Freitas are the top 2 drivers, of course, with Freitas taking pole position. Then we have very quickly Beard, Burke, Van Rijn, Engels, Melchert, Gregory, Johnson, Foggy, your top 10, Edgecock and Danes, Pan, Macaulay, Bass, Mangan, Wormingham, Woodhouse and Order with Harrod round up your top 10 as the grid was scrolling through your screen just a bit earlier thanks to Samuli. Pace car will peel off, sliding as it has done all night, by the way. Very tricky moment. Freitas will control the field, and it also green flag is in the air for this third and final race of the evening. Already trying to pull away is the 999 Ferrari. Jacolet with his traditional livery, the year 1 car, defending from Steve Burke. Behind them everything seems to be all nice. Of course, first troubled spot is going to be this, the first chicane. Here they go, very tough to find space, and of course super easy to go wide and clip that wall there on the right side. Everything seems to be fine once again, I don't want to jinx it. Chris Daines, you can see him here trying to get the best of Ben Gregory as they are running side by side, the BMW versus the Mercedes. Hard braking area of the third chicane. Now, gotta be careful. I think Gregory and Daines were very aggressive on the curbs, but they were in the safe. And look at that Ford rounding up the top 10 as we go back to the battle there at the front with... Oh, I see a spin, I hear a spin. Unfortunately, it's Oscar Mangan once again getting involved, and I think Gregory also. Yes, oh, and we have a massive crash there for Mangan as he has been flipped upside down into the grassy area before the backstretch, and more contact as one of the Nomad cars goes around after being collected, I'm afraid, by Josh Thompson there. So drama straight away. Thompson toes back to the pit, so does Bird, so does another driver. Mangan, I think, is trying to continue, but let's see. They were trying to get past Melchert here. There was contact in front of them. Melchert actually hit that Texas Fitztime Motorsports car, and then being pushed involuntarily wide by one of the CQR cars was the 99 of Mangan, and sadly that was a lot of damage. And also you see there Thompson making contact with the Nomad Audi, and that was all she wrote for several drivers. Mangan is continuing. Happiest guy in the room so far is Miguel Freitas. He has pulled away to a significant gap already, almost 1 second. And Sam should be back, right?
Yes, unfortunately, to all the viewers. 3.5 seconds between Freitas and Jacolet, so that is an insane gap. However, Jacolet under mass pressure now from Steve Burke. Burke on the outside, Jacolet on the inside. Almost contact a couple of times, and Jacolet just too deep on the brakes, and he's got to be careful from his year one teammate of Ashley Beard right behind. Dan McCauley just going past Dennis Melcher. Great start, by the way, for Foggy and Danes. They haven't made up too many places on lap 2, but I think on lap 1 they gained 4 and 5 places respectively. So really nice start for those guys. Issues for Joe's just gone off the circuit, and Ross McFarlane as well. It's had a little bit of a tricky day, I think, as McFarlane. Certainly a tricky race too. I believe he didn't finish the event. So many crashes for drivers today. I think Nicole Foggy is dropping down the order, probably with a slowdown. And Gregory with another spin. I'm surprised he was still that far up after making contact with another driver earlier on.
Oh,
and now Ingalls and Danes. Danes, after a brilliant start, like I was saying, he was up 5 places already, up into 6th. He was fighting with Foggy, I think, and now that spin has sent him tumbling out of the top 20.
So we have one of the pro drivers in first, and we got an amateur in second, if I'm not mistaken, and a pro-am in third. Nice representation of the classes on the podium so far. As you can see, we are racing into late afternoon settings, so track is going to be a bit cooler. It's 7 p.m. right now in sim time. As a Matchcock on your screens right now. Defending.
What a queue this is.
Yeah, I mean, this is again a proper traffic jam, and every time I say traffic jam there is a wreck, so hopefully I don't jinx it this time as well. Of course, Evdoka himself knows a thing or two about curses, as yesterday himself and the TCR boys were basically harbinger of death during the Simulators World Enduro for a couple of hours at least.
They were the Grim Reaper, weren't they? Whenever they were present, death was imminent. Oh, that's a run for Mark Fletcher, I think. And he will get one of these jars. Not sure if he'll get the McLaren, because the McLaren, as we said in race 2, is so quick down the straights. Hanging around the outsides is Pete Harrod. And he will, at least for the moment, have that 8th place. But Harrod up 12, Fletcher up 15. A lot more big places gained, and now they're stuck behind Dennis Melcher a little bit. Come on, Dennis! That Ford, it's wide. It's not wide enough. Harrod's a bit past.
Still sitting in second in his class is Dennis Melcher. He will take the podium surely, but I think he has more pressing matters to think about, and that's this massive queue of cars behind him, including class rivals Woodhouse, Le Champion, of course, of the amateur class last year, and Order, as you were saying, former driver of the American GT Championship that we organized on Apex Racing TV. And you can see that Ford under massive pressure. Look at behind them, the Reinvade car and the Texan Speedtime Motorsports car coming almost to blows. They are certainly, most definitely, totally not teammates. Right? Anyone?
Right. You wouldn't guess it though, would you? So Fletcher gets past, and Evdoka around. Oh, and that's a few cars. They're offline. Oh, that could have been a whole lot worse, as you were saying, Marco. Massive wreck, but for once, it wasn't a massive wreck being formed, and Evdoka was one of the highest point scorers
someone went
today.
straight into the wall. It's Fraser Smith.
Oh, not a good time for BritTech right now, with the issues for Chris Daines as well. I don't think the Mercedes was too pleased with Smith's rejoin. Foggy up into 4th. I think Foggy had a slowdown on lap 2 and lost a load of places, but he's been very quick since then. Just looking at his lap times, yeah, he had a 39.0 on lap 2, which is about 5 seconds off the pace. So if it weren't for that, he'd be probably up on the podium at the moment, but instead he's only 2 seconds off the podium. Got Ashley Beard to catch up to, passes up the race as well for Foggy. He'll get a bonus point for that if it stands. It's so close behind Daines. And side by side with Palmer and Horder and McClay and many other drivers, the one on the booster, or the XBR driver, going in deep and now making contact as well that was Mike Gray, who's had a brilliant day so far. However, that was a bit of an unnecessary move, I think, from Gray on that occasion, trying to get past Adam Hedgecock, it could have been, in the Audi, sorry. And they both lost out big time. Horder and Macaulay were very close, and this is Shield going around the outside of Craig Jones.
Samuel is noticing something I noticed in the Sim Racers World race at Daytona the other week, is that up until it's like officially sunset, the McLaren doesn't even turn on the low beam light. Of course, it makes up for it with the massive flames from the rear. But yes, you can see everyone has got their nice, low lights, nice and up. Even the Ford, but the McLaren is on a strike. All the McLarens will not turn on their lights until the official in-game sunset time, which I don't think we will in this race. Therefore, yeah, we will not enjoy those beautiful headlights. But again, we have the flames, so at least we have that.
Casper Engels with several cars behind. This is for 21st place. Engels started up in 6th. He's dropped a lot of places already as the 773 car. Now the BrickTech car of Ethan Bass trying to get past him. A little bit of an off track, I think, for a couple of cars behind. Billy Fletcher having a tough time of it. Oh,
no.
dear.
Massive wreck. And
Was
this is
that
a proper
Draycott?
big one.
Yeah, it was Draycott and Woodhouse and Rose. Oh,
I think Birmingham also got involved in that. And imagine this was bad with these cars as we go back to the front. Imagine with the new tire model of how that is going to be like even worse. We have seen a taste of that in the Euro V8s a couple of weeks back at Suzuka when that car went into the grass before the hairpin, and basically nothing would have stopped that car. And in fact they got there and collected Nicole Foggy. Foggy had a bad race 1, bad race 2. Race 3, really the chance to, redeem himself. I think he had collisions in the opening lap of both of the first 2 races of the night. Let's see. Of course, the former champion. Sorry, the former Le Champion of the series in the past few years.
Who are you referring to? Apologies.
To Foggy.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, had a miserable round first. Yeah, because he started right at the back in race 1, didn't he? And then got involved in a crash. So right at the back in race 2, did really well to come back, and then race 3 has been much more successful for him. Still not the points they would have wanted, and as you said, he's won this title in the GT3 cars as well, twice. So he should be one of the favourites for the championship. He certainly hasn't slowed down. Anyone who's watched him in the Euro V8 Supercar series this season will know that he is extremely quick.
So if you want a little bit of positive, the last time I commented on this championship was that season where he won the title. So maybe it's can bring good luck to him. And this one-off appearance. Someone else will be in my place for Sam's despair next week.
I don't think I'll be here next week anyway, to be honest. Well, viewers are in rejoice as we speak, now that none of us. Foggy has got past Ashley Beard then and straight on to Steve Burke. These guys are 11 seconds behind Miguel Freitas. Get out the... Oh no, he was already down to 25th. And James King!
Again.
That was a bit of a rejoin. Again, stop going. He wanted to go some miles, I think, that time. Moon wasn't enough for him. 230 car back on his way. Doesn't seem like he's got too much damage. Engels getting back going, although that's a lot of damage on that machine. He may as well tow. Yeah, that's going to take him a while to get back.
Yeah, that's bad.
Unless he likes the wheel vertical as he's turning. I don't know. Maybe that's his driving style. Not sure if they have crabs in Canada. I'm sure they do. With the largest coastline in the world, of course, is Canada. There's your facts. Also, longest border in the world is between Canada and USA.
And it is marked all the way through from the east coast to the west there are basically posts every few feet, like 100 of feet, all the way through the border. They even took out entire straight lines of forest to mark it way back in the 1800s. Absolutely fascinating stuff.
They must have been really precious over their land, I imagine. Not wanting anyone else. You see, when the Canadians divide their borders, people are quite complimentary when other countries try. They're not. I won't go there. Foggy tries to get past Burke, 2/10. It was much less than that a moment ago. I feel as though this is just a matter of time. But credit to Steve Burke, who's looked very quick today. One of the amateur drivers, of course. Looks like he's going to win out of the amateur drivers in this race 3. Top pro AM driver, of course, Ashley Beard, and top pro driver Miguel Freitas. So many overtaking chances around this track, so many big braking zones, and this is one of them. Foggy glances down the inside and very much tells Burke that there's not really any way around that. Burke will try to stay in the slipstream, and it is a possibility, although these GT3 cars not with the biggest draft effect. Down to 1/10 of a second, and Foggy feeling the need to go defensive. Burke, if he can make this, then, I mean, move of the season goes to him. Oh, here we go. He's trying to move me right here. He's staying around the outside, but Foggy has it in hand. And now look at this. Catching up to them massively is Mark Fletcher. And he's going to get at least one of these guys. He might even get Burke as well. He wasn't involved in this battle a few seconds ago. And now he's trying to get up into the podium places. Wasn't enough speed for him to get past Burke. And Foggy, very pleased with this, pulls away by a few tenths. Christian Rose back to the pits.
Yes, because of that wreck that we had there at the hairpin, as the beautiful Canadian sunset greets us with the sun poking from behind the clouds for this final 5 minutes of the race.
No beavers out here. That's a little bit... Oh, groundhogs, sorry. Where's the groundhog model? I think it's the kangaroo model for the...
I think that those are beavers.
Groundhogs?
No. In Canada they have beavers on the track usually.
No, but I think groundhog... I think... wasn't it a groundhog which interrupted Raikkonen this year? Or last year, sorry.
I have no recollection.
I think he called it a thing. However, he describes most stuff as that thing, or whatever it's called. Macaulay gets, what's that move on Van Rijn? I guess it was, because Van Rijn has now dropped 8 places. Yakalet down 9. I feel like we've seen a lot of Macaulay today. Score a lot of points.
So Freitas 34.1, let's see Foggy in his first lap with clean air, 33.6 between the pair of them, as we have Danes and Palmer heading into the braking area. Palmer just did a 33.0, which is the fastest lap of the race so far, and is able to complete the pass on Danes, and trying to get to at least, I mean, it's going to be tough to get to Harold, I think, with such little time left in the race. Gap between first and second is in the order of 2 seconds right now. Therefore, I mean, unless Freitas makes a massive mistake, I think this victory is in the bag.
Fletcher and Burke. Fletcher, as it stands, is going to be the massive winner today in terms of overall points. I don't think anyone's getting close to him, with the issues, of course, for Thompson. He's had a really tricky start to the season, despite probably being the fastest driver so far. Oh, there goes Harrods. The CQR guys, really quick today. Harrods has been quick. Palmer has been even quicker. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great qualifying, I think, for Ben Palmer. Otherwise, I think he would have probably been able to match Fletcher's points tally today. But like I said, Fletcher probably going to be the highest points scorer as he tries to get past Steve Burke. A few half-committed moves at the moment from Fletcher. He needs to be a bit more committed if he's going to take this place. I think he is going to get the place anyway, but it's inviting a lot of other cars. And with the pace of those McLarens, you don't want them sitting behind you, but that's the situation he's in now. The 21 car hounding him from behind, and Fletcher's got to be very selective with his next overtaking choice.
Yes, I think he doesn't want to possibly ruin the race of Burke by going for a crazy move. At the same time, you bring up a very valid point, Sam. The more he hesitates, the more he stays behind Burke, and the more he invites Harrod, Beard, Palmer, and Danes. Of course, class victory would be sweet for Burke, but of course, an overall podium would be the icing on the cake. And still, Fletcher, pokes his nose out of the draft just to make sure that Burke realizes he's there, but nothing to show for with this move. And he's gotta be careful because Harrod might go for a lunge here at the hairpin. That doesn't happen.
Palmer up another place past Beard, and Danes is trying to get past as well. Did Danes have a spin earlier on? I swear Danes had an issue. Or so maybe that was race 2 and I'm just merging all the races together. Oh, pressure for Fletcher. Can he defend? Yes, he can.
Oh,
And Howard now with the
backslapper.
spin. Oh, well, he nearly took out his own teammate who dashes his lights. I'm sure he's talking to him on Discord anyway. And now Fletcher from nowhere has got the run on Burke, who must have got a really poor exit from the final chicane. And on lap 13, Mark Fletcher does move up into 3rd place. That's on the last lap, and he had to get it done quick, and he has eventually finally got on the podium and will almost certainly be the highest point scorer today. Bibby's caught up to the back of this chain now. So if Burke could finish in 4th place here, he could finish down in 9th very easily with what we've seen so far today, with drivers falling offline and then really struggling to hold back other drivers. Burke will be very fortunate to get away with 4th position. There's also a massive pack as well behind Dennis Melcher in 15th place. Apologies, we haven't been paying too much attention to that in the last few laps. But here it is, all the way back to Ethan Bass in 22nd place. This might actually be a little bit closer than the battle further up, so he might stick with this and then of course go to the race leader in a moment when he crosses the line for the race victory. Although here's Harrods. Has he lost the place to... No, Danes has got past Harrods. Wow. Nice work there from Chris Danes as Miguel Freitas is going through the final chicane as we speak. By himself, the driver who started on pole dominates. And he wins by a massive margin, the biggest margin we're probably going to see all season in one of these sprint events. Nicole Foggy recovers some points after a disappointing first 2 races in 2nd, and Mark Fletcher certainly the winner overall today. Steve Burke finishes top of the AM drivers. Brilliant performance from Burke. I think Harris dropped down a little bit, of course, on that last lap. Melcher, can he hang on to 15th place in the 4s? He's been caught by Horder on the line. It's not going to be enough. And Dennis Melcher, well, that's a win for him. It's not a win in any type of way, apart from the fact that he's in the 4s. And that is a nice effort. You can hear the applause in the background. That was a nice defense as well from Melcher near the end. We are not biased. Richard Warmingham finishing in 28th place. So top of the Pro-Ams then was Ashley Beard in 9th position, who was overtaken by Lewis Bibby on the last lap. But it was all okay for him. Marco, what a round of the championship. Constant action. It's what we expect from the World GT Championship. But this man, Miguel Freitas, I mean, like I said before, 11.3 seconds, you're going to be hard pushed to find a bigger winning margin for the entire season in the sprint races. That was so easy for him, so easy.
Yeah, I don't know where I got the 2 seconds between himself and Foggy that I reported a couple of minutes ago. Yes, absolutely. I mean, as this is a rarity in the world of World GT to have such a massive margin, but that's of course the helping hand of being a quick driver and starting on pole in one of these reverse races where most of your competition has to fight through the field. That doesn't take away a fantastic drive from Freitas. And of course, the classic World GT action, that's what you get when you basically put GT cars in a touring car format. And it was certainly a nice and good evening of racing. And before we go to the final considerations, we have the final results to bring to you.
Yeah, so it's Miguel Freitas who wins out by 11.3 seconds ahead of Nicole Foggy. Mark Fletcher rounds out the podium. Steve Burke, top of the AM drivers, in 4th. But then it was Ben Palmer, Chris Daines, Pete Harrod, Lewis Bibby, and Ashley Beard. Ashley Beard, the top of the Pro-Am drivers. Then it was George McClay, Dan McCauley, Mike Gray, Carl Yacolet, Lars Van Rijn, Dennis Melchert, Mike Horder, Andy Scheel, Adam Hedgecock, Michael Evdoka, Kevin DeWale, Ross McFarlane, Ethan Bass, Craig Jones, Kevin Boland, Simon Underhill, John Roberts, Simon Field, Richard Warmingham, Bart Perrett, Chaz Draycott, John Adjuice, apologies, Oscar Mangan, Michael Blake, Mark Woodhouse, Ben Gregory, Niall Crowther, Kip Stevens, Dean Timms, Fraser Smith, Billy Fletcher, Nathan Dixon, Dave Christie, and those were all the drivers on the lead lap, and all drivers who will score points. Drivers who retired were Christian Rhodes, Casper Engels, James King, Matt Bunn, Barry Baird, and Josh Thompson. What a day it could have been for Thompson. Like I said, you either come away from this round as a big winner or a big loser. Thompson, despite a race win, going to come away as a big loser. He's got a lot of points to make up in the championship, and of course 2 drop rounds I believe they get in this series. And after a disappointing Bathurst round, he's gonna have to he's got to be pretty much perfect to the end of the season. He's going to mount a championship challenge. So far, no interviews. Where is everyone? Where are they? I'm sure we will be invited for a few interviews. However, the next round of the championship, Marco, do you know it, or am I going to have to look at the calendar? Don't even tell me, because it's Interlagos, and I'm pretty sure you said Interlagos earlier on as well.
Yes.
What do you expect from that?
Man, it's one of the best tracks for racing in all of iRacing, and again, it is going to have that extra spice of the new tire model with that, and 2 weeks break for the first break, because they are keeping the format of 3 weeks of racing, 1 week of break. I just have to do just a little bit of a I want to say something to the organizers, because that track map of Monza is good, but the map of Italy is not.
Is it just wrong?
It's missing Sardinia, one of the regions, the other a big island, and that is not Monza, that is I don't know, but it's not Monza, not even Imola, that red dot on the map. But appreciate the effort, because not all the tracks have the country map in there, but yeah, apart from that, I mean, all
Is it Milan?
No, it's somewhere like Parma, some Florence, maybe Bologna. You know, it's certainly not Imola, and not Monza. More importantly, it's somewhere. It's one of those places that's being shut down these past few days for the coronavirus outbreak in northern Italy. But I digress. Do we have drivers? Yes, we have. So
Yes.
Sam, take it away.
So we'll talk first up to Mark Fletcher, who almost certainly won the most amount of points today. Wasn't a race win, however, Mark, few podiums. Nice job.
And let's be honest, when do I ever win a race?
Exactly.
But no, it's brilliant. I didn't think I had the pace tonight. I'm not going to lie. I was really busy in the week preparing for the Simply race 6 hour on R Factor 2. So yeah, a little bit less practice this week. But yeah, you know me. I just try and keep it clean, and that's what I managed to do tonight.
Yeah, you certainly did. I mean, just looking back at race 1, 4th position, in that you were fighting with Evdoka pretty hard. You were fighting with Michael throughout, to be honest. I mean, you two got pretty close at times. Was your heart ever in your mouth?
A little bit. We know how each of the races. You know, I know Mike's going to go for a gap. You know, we're all racers, but you know, you just got to look at the team standings, and you know, we're all up there. But yeah, it does get a bit, especially with like myself and Michael. You know, we're all going to be close, and we've got to realise that throughout the season. So.
And in the championship, I mean, between you and Lewis now, it's going to be really close. You must be, or how would you assess your season so far? Would you say you've maximised your points, or was there a little bit more available?
I think, as per every series like this, it's going to be who can keep it clean. You know, Josh got super unlucky in both the races. I think from what I've heard, you know, and he's now 9th in the championship, and you know, you just can't afford to make massive mistakes. You know, not week after week. So you know, we'll just keep plodding on. I'm happy with the way I've started. 23 points in the lead at the minute, behind 2 represents guys. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, certainly congratulations on your results today, Mark. Is there any shout-outs you'd like to give to anyone?
Yeah, all the guys at Radicals, all the MOATF guys that have joined us over the last couple of weeks, the Simmortal guys, Pixel Dust, obviously Fitstye Motorsport for allowing me and Ross into the team to make the dream team, and all the guys at Year One Racing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Mark, and see you soon on Apex Racing TV.
Yeah, see you soon.
That was Mark Fletcher for TechSense Fitstye Motorsport. Marco, who do you want to have a chat with now?
I'd like to have a chat with Mike Gray. Mike Gray, welcome to the booth.
Hello.
So, of course, leader of the Pro-Am standings after this set of 3 races in Montreal. How was your evening?
Considering I didn't get much practice this week because one of my children is sick, I'm very happy with it, to be honest.
How was the racing out there? Especially, how was, considering that there are drivers of different skills and different speeds, all racing together in a track as narrow as and as tricky as this one?
Yeah, there was a few times that I had people who generally are quicker than me, like Christian Rose, for example. And you just know if you can cover off that inside, you can keep them behind you for quite a while. Obviously, there was the odd dive bomb I saw from people, but I guess at times that's what you have to do to get past. But no, it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and that's not generally one of my favourite tracks to drive at.
And what about the track you're going to race in 2 weeks' time? The Interlagos racetrack in Brazil, of course. Big talking point, the new tire model which will be released basically 1 week from today on these cars. So I'm imagining you will try to get as much practice as possible.
Yeah, I'll make the wife look after the kids. But yeah, I think it's going to change it up quite a bit with the new tyre model. So, but yeah, I'm going to try and get as many laps in as I can. So, just see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you very much. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, yourselves for doing the broadcast, all the guys who put the championship together, and everyone in my team at XVR Sim Racing.
Thank you very much, Mike, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks then.
Yep, see ya.
So, next up, we're going to have a chat with Andy Shield. He had a very successful day today. Andy, textbook stuff. You finish in 17th place. You bribe us to have a reverse grid of 18. So you start in 2nd place on the grid, and you win race 2. Well done.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I'm still drying myself off after those races this evening, but certainly race 2. It's been a while since I've been on that step of the podium, so quite happy with myself this evening.
Definitely. You took the lead in that race very early on. You then formed yourself about a 3-second gap, I think, with probably about a quarter of an hour to go. I mean, how hard were you pushing there, or were you just mega security, just making sure you didn't make a mistake?
Well, with the McLaren, it's a bit of a death machine if you hit those curbs too hard, so I was trying to nurse it around the chicanes while still trying to maintain, you know, a couple of second gap on Barry, who unfortunately had a connection issue halfway through the race, and he just dropped off the race leaderboard. So I was then conscious that Bibby was coming through quite quick, and yeah, I was just trying to make sure I wasn't leaking too much time by driving too cautiously without risking, you know, a slowdown or unsettling the car.
And in race 3, we were aware. We didn't see a whole lot, unfortunately, of that massive pack of drivers from 15th place to 22nd place, I think. You finished third out of that order. I mean, how was it fighting with those guys?
Well, whenever you're in the mid pack with these guys, I mean, a lot of the cars in the mid pack are great drivers in terms of pace and racecraft. So you've really got to work hard to, try and make up a place or two. And it is such a tight track, so you've really only got maybe 2 or 3 legitimate overtaking places, unless someone makes a mistake in front of you. Got a couple of places where someone or 1 or 2 had a slowdown, but really fair, really good driving from what I could see, and certainly was an enjoyable evening for me, and hopefully the rest of the grid had a good one too.
And of course, you were saying earlier on the difficulty of driving the McLaren. A lot of drivers have switched to the Mercedes, I believe, recently. Is that a temptation for you? Is it tempting to take the 100-point penalty and change to the Mercedes or another GT3 car?
No, I think we're quite happy with McLaren. There's a couple of tracks where it is going to be a handful. Anything with any substantial curbs is always going to be difficult to manage. We're looking forward to some smoother tracks that are now up and coming on the calendar, where I think the car will be a lot better behaved, and hopefully we'll give the Mercedes guys a run for their money for the rest of the season. So I think we're comfortable with the car, and we won't be changing. We enjoy the challenge.
Awesome, great to hear, Andy. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Just the boys in CQR Club, my teammates this evening, Ben and Pete, sterling effort. I think we may have pipped the top scoring teams this evening, so that'll be a fantastic result. But just the rest of the admin to help put on the series, you guys for running the broadcast, and we look forward to next week. And well, not next week, got a week off next week, but obviously when we get back, I think it's Interlagos, first race back, so should be another close evening for everybody.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Andy, and best of luck for Interlagos in a fortnight's time.
Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
So that was Andy Shield, race 2 winner today. And Marco, I think we're going to have one more chat with one more driver.
We should have one more interview. Yes, should be Ethan Bass with us. Hello, Ethan. Hello? Maybe he's a bit shy. Let's try again. Ethan Bass, hello, welcome to the broadcast booth.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there he is. Okay, so nice to hear you. An up and down evening with you, but I think that you can be quite satisfied because you leave Montreal third in the standings in your class. But yes, I think on the track it was an up and down evening for you.
That's a happy thing to hear, because it was actually really enjoyable tonight. I tried my best to do lots of practice around here. I was doing a couple of hours last night. I've done this track a couple of times in Leeds, and still this is my first time racing this place in a Merc. I haven't done GT3 racing for a while, and this is the first proper season, and I'm quietly happy with my results tonight.
So you drive the Mercedes, of course, the overall, I'd say, most balanced car that can really work well on most racetracks. Are you afraid that is going to change with the release of the new tire model next week?
I'm not actually afraid at all. If anything, I relish that challenge because I've driven the Audi on the new tire model quite a lot, and I'm always seemingly better on my tires when it comes to at the end of the races. So I relish the challenge. It should be good fun. The only thing is that traction zones are always been a key problem, and it'll just be a case of finding what works best.
Early days, of course, in the championship, but are you looking forward to the challenge, and maybe do you think you can challenge for the class title in the end?
That was always the aim when I found that it was going to be three classes, and I didn't expect to be a pro driver. This is, again, my only second time in World GT, so I'm happy to be close near the front. It's just a case of keeping my nose clean. I wasn't getting my elbows out too much tonight. I managed to pick up 2 0x races in race 1, race 2, and then race 3, unfortunately, I accidentally rubbed someone out of the hairpin and caused myself a 1x at the end of it. That was unfortunate, but apart from that, the racing was good, and I had pace, I was confident, and in case it keeps out of the wall and keep going. could pick up from mistakes that made by others.
Awesome, Ethan. Well, thank you for joining us. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
I would like to thank Chris Daines again, because without him I wouldn't be running in this league with such a great team, because BritTech Sim Sport is a great bunch of lads who are always bouncing off each other to make good setups and good practice. And I want to thank Mark Sykes Designs for a great livery. Again, some of the best on the track. You can always see it. It's got a Union Jack on the top of it. Stands out. Choice Designs, Next Gen Racing. They're a good bunch of lads. Sim Labs, and we've got great videos made by the Scruffy Bear Productions.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ethan. We will catch you hopefully in a couple of weeks' time.
Yep. Thanks very much for the hosting, lads. I'll watch that back and enjoy myself. Thanks very much.
So that was Ethan Bass, and that will be our last interview for the evening. Marco, well, I mean, I'd say hopefully we won't be doing any more of these broadcasts. Hopefully Adam and Woody will be back up and ready for round 4 of the championship, but it was certainly very fun whilst it lasted. And this Montreal circuit, whilst it can be a bit contentious when you've got 60 odd cars, I think the experience of these drivers today meant that we saw a very enjoyable evening rather than potentially very frustrating evening.
Man, I really cannot wait for the new tire models, and because I think that it could really bring new life to cars like the, I was joking about the Ford earlier, but the McLaren is going to be, I think, the car that benefits the most, and the Audi. Those are cars that with the current tire model have the tendency to try to kill you in as many ways as possible. And the new tire model, I think, when the tires get into temperature, you can really feel a much better connection with the road. So I have big hopes, and maybe we can see an even more varied grid in the next few weeks, not only here but also in other GT3 championships. And of course, the more variety, the more fun I think the drivers and we have from the commentary box. So big hopes for what's coming next.
Absolutely, and of course, coming up on the iRacing eSports network, I think there might be V8 Scops tomorrow morning. I'm not quite sure. I think that's on a Tuesday morning for us Europeans. But the one that you want to watch, of course, is the Sim Racers World GT Championship. That'll be on Sunday evening, 20 GMT. Round 2 of the championship. Can Van Loosenod bounce back after a tricky meeting?
I think it's on Wednesday.
I said Wednesday.
Oh, you said Sunday.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh no. Well, apologies for that. Wednesday.
We are officially done. It's been a long weekend and
It's
Monday
been a
extra.
long
I mean, come on.
Yeah, and
I feel for you.
and then, well, I don't think we've broadcast. Of course, we got the Formula 3.5 Championship on Saturday evening. That'll be the season finale as well. I think Tim Delisle going for the title in that one. And of course, do please check out our local channel, Apex Racing TV, where we've got loads of other broadcasts. We've got IndyCars on Friday evening, and of course the Aussie Mixed and Fixed Days. Oh yeah, the Aussie Mixed and Fixed Days. That'll be on Sunday as well. That'll be the season finale in that, and that'll be on the eSports Network. So loads on the eSports Network, loads on Apex Racing TV. Please do check out our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram and Twitch as well, which we always broadcast on. And if you've enjoyed this video, do please leave a like. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the action. But from me, from Marco, and from Sam, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.